Is it showing
Hey,
up now?
now I can see it.
Okay, great. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. And you can advance slides for me?
You got it. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. Sorry we had a little bit of a slow start there, but really appreciate everyone taking some time out of their day to join us today. So my name is Andy Taylor. I'm the practice director for solutions integration at PSM Partners. And I'd like to introduce our friend, Abby Hansen. Abby actually works for our partner organization, Ingram. And Abby is going to facilitate this discussion as we walk through some of the latest exciting advances in Microsoft Teams. Go ahead and advance the next slide, please. So just a quick overview of PSM Partners for anyone that is new to our organization. We were founded in 2014. We're self-funded. We're focused on SMB in the mid-market, and we're headquartered in Chicago. We've had rapid, steady growth since the start of the organization. We have a very strong Microsoft relationship, and that's a very strategic part of our business. We've been debt-free and cash flow positive since month 4 of our existence. We're at about 60 full-time employees. We've had very little customer churn, and we're just really focused on long-term client relationships. I should add here, I joined PSM Partners in November of last year, and I think the thing that's just impressed me the most and has been the most refreshing to me is just our organization's integrity and just the way we engage with customers. Could you go to the next slide, please, Abby? So I'm not going to try to give you an overview of everything we do at PSM Partners. I'll give you at a very high level. We actually have 3 divisions within PSM Partners. We have a solutions integration organization. That's my organization. Then we also have a managed services organization, which is led by my colleague, Frank Anderson. And then we have a third group that is focused on talent acquisition that does direct placement and contract placement for any type of role, but we're very heavily in the tech sector. And so that's PSM at a very high level. And we included this slide because I just wanted to focus a little bit on our Microsoft partnership because of the fact that obviously Microsoft Teams is a big consideration for a lot of organizations right now. So in terms of our Microsoft partnership, we focus a lot on the cloud. We focus on data center transformation. We do a ton of Microsoft 365 deployment and migration projects. Microsoft Teams is a key part of that, including voice implementations, which is a real critical aspect of Microsoft Teams, obviously. And we're very heavy into the Microsoft identity and security space. I should also add that we've got good relationships with other partner organizations as well that help us round out our identity and security practice. And then we listed just a couple of success stories here at the bottom. I'm not going to go into detail, but you can kind of see them there. We've been engaging with a lot of organizations in the medical field, a lot of associations, a lot of organizations in legal, but we don't really have a specific vertical that we align to exclusively. The main thing that we really try to do is just be very narrowly focused on the things that we do extraordinarily well. And a big part of that is cloud transformation and getting people using newer technologies like Teams. So that's the PSM overview.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, welcome. I am Abby. I actually sit in Fargo, North Dakota, and I've been in the Microsoft industry for about 17 years. Here at Ingram Micro, I run the Microsoft Teams practice. And so today we're going to talk about how can we collaborate better within your workplace, as well as what can Teams help you do to really help advance your business. We're going to go ahead and start, though, by having a quick security conversation. And the security conversation is super important because when we have moved from a brick and mortar to working from home, some things may have changed within your environment. And it's really important to think about those changes. I remember back on March 13th, the first day that my whole family was working from my house, and I have 3 small children. And it was at that time we knew we had to set up separate networks because we don't know what our children are clicking on in terms of links, and we didn't want to bring any vulnerabilities into our environment, in our home environment. And it's important to think about this because if you're not VPNing into work, you may have some risk there when it comes to cyber attacks. And that's why it's important to get alignment there from that perspective. 58% of the breaches that happen with cyber attacks actually happen in small businesses. We hear about the large breaches all of the time, but it's important to know that, maybe sometimes companies aren't ready for those threats. On average, it costs about $120,000 per SMB for a breach, including everything else that you have going on in your environment, downtime, etc., and getting new equipment if a breach has happened and takes your machine out completely. So it's important to kind of think about the big picture there, especially as we work more remote. And as we don't work remote, like I was in Chicago before, this was the last trip I had actually, and I was thinking about, taking the L train or something along those lines. Like, what if I were to lose my computer? How can I make sure that my company's information is safe and secure? And Microsoft technologies actually help us do that. So I just want to quickly go over a product Microsoft has. It's called Microsoft 365 Business. It's a great way for your companies to ramp up from a security standpoint. It includes office productivity, office applications, online services. But what's really cool about it is all of that security information is included. So internal threat protection, BitLocker so people can't get access to your machine, data loss prevention, and Azure information protection. And as we dive into Microsoft Teams, a lot of this is built into that platform. Microsoft Teams is actually secure and encrypted. So no matter what you put in there, it's safe, which is pretty cool. Then it also includes device management. So Microsoft Intune, it can help with password resets, helping to wipe your data, your company data off of a personal machine if that happens. And so there's a lot that can go into it. And then if you're on Windows 7, what's awesome about it, or Windows 8, there's an upgrade included in that to Windows 10. And my little man, I think, is trying to get in. Hey, buddy, I'm on a call, okay? Yeah, it'll come, okay? I'm doing a demo to a bunch of people. Thank you. Gotta love the work from home aspect, right? And so
Yeah, we're all working from home these days.
This is the world we live in, and it's just how you handle it. I think most days I have a child on my lap, or thank goodness for the new Teams and features in Teams, because a couple of weeks ago, one of them came in naked during a demo. So you just got to go with the flow. So true story. But anyways, Microsoft 365 Business, as we dive into it, can actually help you save money. And who doesn't like to save money? So you can see there's a bunch of third-party apps that are on this screen on the left-hand side, and you may be paying reoccurring with those. By optimizing and actually using the features within the platform, you can save money. And so PSM can help you optimize your environment and actually get you where you need to go as an organization. But now for the fun of it. Microsoft Teams, I swear I have a permanent purple Kool-Aid mark on my face because this product is life-changing, and not just because I've been in it, but because of everything I can do to save time within my day. And so when the pandemic happened, there was like 20 some million users on it. And within 2 months, it's up to 78 million users. Some of the reasons that have been stated for this drive, it is because it is secure. You can use it any place, anywhere on your mobile device. You can use it on a laptop. You can use it on an iPad. So you have the ability to access your information. It's spoken in 53 different languages. And so it will translate for you, which is awesome. And you're going to see some of that functionality and how it can be turned on within it. I work with a global partner in the Netherlands, and a couple of weeks ago, I was on a phone call with him, and he was speaking Dutch and broken English. And I turned on Translator, which you'll see in a little while, and it actually translated it for me. So our business conversation could continue. And another one I like to cover is 93 of the Fortune 100 companies use Microsoft Teams in its entirety, from chat to Teams to voice. And that just really shows that there is, it's credible. Companies trust it. The US government is moving between 2 to 4 million users over to Microsoft Teams. And so secure, productive, it's in GCC, it's all of the above, HIPAA compliant, FERPA compliant. There's over 90 regulatory compliances that it covers. Okay, now I'm gonna get out of the PowerPoints because PowerPoints are boring, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into the demo. And let me know you guys can see yourself on screen. So I'm going to throw this out here. I have a $25 Amazon gift card, right, Andy? Yep. If you, I want to see non-PS.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to see non-PSM employees on my screen. And I want this to get filled up to 9 people. So if we can get this screen to 9 people by turning on your camera, which you do right here, one of those people is going to go ahead and get a gift card. And if you have a coffee cup, it's going to put you ahead of the game because this is a coffee talk.
All right.
Be brave. Let's do this. Oh, perfect. Well, Mike is going to get it, but I would really love for you all to see the 9 because it's super cool. It's a feature that was just released. I was giving a customer demo yesterday, and I kid you not, I started the call with 4 panes. At the end of the call, I was asking for questions and 9 were there. And I screamed so loud that my kids came in because I was so excited. And it was just like, that's how fast things change, but it's so awesome. Oh, people are popping on. You want to see it. I love it. Scott, let me see your guys' face. We're almost there. We have one more window to fill. Awesome. And who's in the corner down here? Because it's covered up by my window. Oh, here we go. Brian's on. Perfect. Great to see you in person today, Brian. Is it, who's in the corner here? Because I can't see it with my thing. Is it Helen? Here too? Perfect. All right. Well, we're almost there. So I guarantee you by the end of the meeting, we will see 9 and we're going to have an awesome experience. Okay. So when you joined this meeting, you clicked on the meeting link. You either clicked join Microsoft Teams meeting or you dialed in or you did both. If you dialed in, I recommend you drop and you click the meeting link. Otherwise, you're not going to see what I'm going to present to you. Okay. This is interactive. Ask questions. Come off mute. Put your questions in the chat. We're here to answer those questions. Okay. So I always like to start in the meeting link. And in the meeting link at this bar, we're going to start here. So you can see I'm recording the meeting. We can also see how long that meeting has been going on for. Some people may have jumped on earlier, and so it starts as soon as somebody jumps on the call. Here's your video. So if you're able to turn on your camera, still want to see your faces, that's awesome. You can turn that on and off. The next one is your mute button. Oh, there's our 9th window. This is awesome. Sorry, I get super excited and it's Friday. See, I have my hustle juice. So let's get this done. The next one is where you can actually stop sharing. Okay, so you're in this environment. I'm sharing my screen. You can actually share a program too, like PowerPoint, Excel, or if you just want to share Teams, you can do that. Through Teams as well, you can actually share your desktop. So somebody could take control of it if you need help. This is great, help solve issues quickly, get you to places that you need to be. Now these 3 dots, these are going to be fun, and everybody who has not blurred their background yet, you're going to start playing with it and we're going to see it as it comes up. But up at the top, this is your device settings. So if you are having technical issues during the call, you can actually change your devices. And so you can see I put my Jabra headset on, but I could switch to my PC if I wanted to. Okay, they're all connected. And then I can change my speaker here as well. The next one is my microphone. If I was having issues, I'd be able to test it. And then the next is my camera. Right now I'm just using my Surface laptop. I have 3 monitors set up, so you're going to see my head go back and forth. But when I travel, I'm usually on the road about 75% of the time. I bring my Poly camera with me or my Jabra Pancast camera, and then I'm able to switch in between so that you're able to see how Teams looks in different perspectives. Okay. This next one is the meeting notes. And this is really cool because if you're doing a meeting as a company, for example, you can take notes directly in this meeting. And so we can actually go ahead and start that. And as it populates, I want you to know that this whole meeting starts as a chat. So when this is done, you're going to be able to come back to all of this information. Okay, So we could take notes, action items, etc., all through this platform, which is kind of cool. The next one is to show the meeting details. So if you drop or you need to add additional people, you can copy this join information. You can enter in a phone number for the meeting to call you. And so there's a bunch of different functionality from this part as well. Here, you can hide your meeting details. I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can enter into full screen. So when you do that, it hides all of the applications that are at the bottom of your screen. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and actually exit full screen. Okay. The next one is to show the background effects. And this was really fun. And I had another screaming moment a couple weeks ago when they released all of the backgrounds, because previously you could just blur your background, which is great. But you actually have the ability to change it to anything that you want. And so these are like ones that Microsoft has actually built in. And then you have the ability to upload your own background. So let's say you're having company meetings, you could have a nice company logo behind you and make it look really professional. I put my university I graduated from in there. You know, if I'm in the mood and it's super cold in Fargo, like Chicago, maybe I want to go to the beach in Africa, and I'm able to change that and kind of just get into my own place. But let's go Toy Story. That's kind of fun too, right? And so we're able to have some fun in this environment. Okay, and feel free to try it while you're on the call. Perfect. All right, so the next one is the live captions. And live captions is awesome. I tend to talk really fast, or sometimes I can't hear people. Yesterday, I was on a call for an education customer and I could barely hear her. But because I had on transcription, I could read everything she was saying without offending her. This is also the place where transcribing can come from a different language. And so it's pretty cool here, and it's in the bottom corner. Okay. The next one is you can use the keypad, stop recording, end the meeting. Oh, Brian, I love it. That one looks great. And then also turn off incoming video. Okay. Chat is next. This is where we have our conversation during a meeting. Also saves to the chat tab, which you'll see in a little bit. I'm going to go into chat in a different way, so I'm only going to touch on a couple things here, but know that the chat that I show you in a moment will have everything that's here as well. I just like to expand it out, okay? But in here, it's kind of fun from a meeting perspective. You can add in like forms or Poly. It's an application that does surveys. And so if you want to take a poll of your group, you can actually include that there. You can add in YouTube. You can add in your weather. So if you guys work like nationally and you're trying to work remote with your team, it's just a way to collaborate better. You can see that that's going to populate. So add some fun to it. Okay. All right. So that is the functionality there. Here is where you can actually see your participants. So we're able to see everybody who's in the call. This is nice as well here because if people are talking and they're like interrupting your meeting, you're going to be able to see that because they will have a purple ring around their name. You can actually go in and mute them. And Brian, I'm going to mute you, but come off mute if you need to talk, just to show the example. So you can see that here. You can also mute everyone and then just remind people to come off of mute. This is nice, kind of saves you if you have a kid screaming at you or you hear WWE wrestling with your twins. It all happens. It's the life. So up here as well, you can also invite someone to the call by dialing them in or with their email. Okay. Another new feature that I just found out about as this meeting was starting is you can manage your permissions for the meeting now directly in the meeting. Previously, you had to do it directly from the meeting invite. Okay, and you can still do that. You can click these meeting options here, and it's going to take you to your meeting options online. Okay. So you can see who can bypass the lobby. Maybe you want people to wait in the lobby until you're ready to present. So this is all here. And you can turn that on and off. And then announce when callers join or leave. Leave that as no because it can get annoying. And then who can present. You can actually choose who's able to present, even down to specific people, and then you would just put their name in there. Okay. This functionality is also right here now. I think it was released today. So you can see that that takes you right there as well. So it gives you a little bit more control from that perspective. And then you can also download the attendee list. This is new too. Everybody's been asking about this all week, and now you can download it. So that's great that that's included. Okay, questions so far? Hopefully you're not overwhelmed. All right, perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and come up to here. So I like to go in a reverse circle. So up here where your face is, you can actually change your picture. You can see your presence awareness. Presence awareness is super important in a remote workforce because we need to know when people are free or busy so that we can continue with business. You can see I'm presenting. The minute I share my screen, it goes into that mode, meaning that people can't, if they send me a message, it's not going to show up in my notifications in the bottom left-hand corner, which is here, okay? You have available, busy, do not disturb, appear away. If you're in focus time, if you have the AI functionality within the Microsoft platform, focus time will come through a report that you can actually have it scheduled for you. So that's pretty cool too. And that will automatically go on do not disturb. So that changes with where you're at. When you accept a meeting on Outlook, it will say that you're in a meeting. So that will change there as well. Okay. The next is your status. You can put a personal message here if you want to, or if you're out of office, it will automatically put that out of office message directly into that box. Next is your settings. Within Microsoft Teams, you have the ability to control your experience. Here you can change your theme. I like to be in dark mode because it's nicer on my eyes and it saves a little energy on my computer. You can set your applications, your language, and also manage delegates on who can receive phone calls on your behalf. Next is privacy. So you can change this here as well. On the read receipt portion of it, you want to make sure this is on. It's great to know when somebody's read your message. And when you're in chat, it will actually have a little eye there for you. Okay. And then the survey part, that's how Microsoft gets better. All it's going to basically do is ask how your call quality was, and it takes just a second to push on those stars. Next is notifications. You have the ability to put your experience here as well. A couple tips that I like to do is I turn off my notification sounds. I also do my missed activity emails. And so if I'm away from my desk, it will send a notice to my email. Okay. So you can manage those there as well. It looks like I have a co-presenter that just joined my office. Anyways, here we have the audio devices as well and your cameras. Here's your permissions. Here you can change this location on is nice here, and then also your phone calls you can change from this perspective. So if you have the telephony portion within Teams where you've ported over your number, or if you're calling internally, you're still going to want to make sure that you set all of this up. So it can call you, you can forward your phone calls, you can even do it from an administrative perspective. So let's say you have an admin and you want it to ring you first, and then it can actually move that over. Okay. Here's where you configure your voicemail and your phone call from there. Questions so far?
Hey, Abby, it's Andy. I just was curious if everyone is able to follow along okay, because one person just sent me a quick note and said he's seeing some significant lag time. So is everybody able to follow along? Are you able to actually see? You can either chime in or you can just respond in the IM window. I'm just curious if you're able to follow along with what Abby's demonstrating here.
It gets frozen occasionally.
Okay, yeah, and some of that obviously is ISP dependent, right, on your internet service provider. I was just curious.
I'm seeing the same thing where the 9 pane window, everyone's locked up.
Okay.
Another question I had, the functionality or abilities of the in-browser connection versus in the application, like a client running on the PC connection. Is there significant lack of functionality if you're in the browser? Do you know?
It should have the same functionality in the browser on your phone or in the application. There's about 80, like there's over 77 million people using the application with over 2 billion people on a meeting per day. And I think as they're starting to roll out some of these things that might be lacking. And so I will take that back. I meet with Microsoft engineering actually right after this call, and I'll see if there's what's going on there. So yeah. So sorry if you're experiencing issues. Is it still frozen for everybody, or are we okay?
So the 9 pane window is slow or frozen, but the bottom pane, that seems to be more fluid.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just when you're resharing the screen out that it gets a little bit delayed.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to go into the different functionalities, and then the screen will go away because I'm going to go ahead and go into the side pane. So hopefully that's a better experience for you. Okay. Perfect. All right. At the top here is the command bar. This is your shortcut bar where you can actually look at activities, change yourself to available, look at everything that you have on red. And so this will actually fluctuate back and forth for you. So you can go and open up those items so you don't have to go search for it. So that shortcut menu is really nice from that perspective. The other part that I wanted to show you as well was actually this bar here. When you click down on it, you're able to go into different networks. And so let's say you work with different vendors and you want to be part of their Teams environment, you can actually invite them in, or you can invite people into yours, and then you would just switch in between those. So that functionality is there as well. Okay. Over on this left-hand side, and if any chats come in, can you please let me know, or any questions, or just go ahead and interrupt me. But on this activity side, you're going to be able to see your feed. It's kind of like a Facebook feed in a way, and where you're going to look at it every day of things that you've been either tagged in, mentioned in, from that perspective. And so here you have everything that I have worked on or responded to. So if I knew that I had worked on something a couple of days ago, but I didn't know where it was located, I'm able to go in here and actually find it. My feed, this is where it'll actually show those mentions. And so you can see that Tracy liked my message, she passed her test, and I put a heart there, and so she actually reacted to me. So you can see that interaction through this portion of it. Okay. Now into chat. Here's our meeting that we started. Everybody is in this meeting, and we're able to communicate back and forth. We might not be able to see each other because I moved to the chat window. I'm going to go ahead and actually just pin this chat. And I like to pin chats when things are going to last for a while. So a project, for example, or I know that I'm going to need to be in there quite often. I like to also do chats, especially group chats, which I'll show you in a moment. If I'm going to be working on a project that is under 6 months, there's sometimes no need to create a team for that, which you'll learn about teams in a moment. Okay. So here we are in the meeting environment. If we were to share files in this meeting, they would be saved in this location. So if you actually set a reoccurring meeting, if this is reoccurring, it would be nice to come back to because all the files would be saved there from previous meetings as well. Here's the meeting notes that we had set up. So these meetings would follow us through that reoccurring series as well. And then we also have a whiteboard. And this is kind of great. Starting to implement some education things with customers right now. And this whiteboard is pretty nice if you're like a math instructor and so forth, or if you want to collaborate as a team, you're able to do that here from that perspective. Okay. And come back to the chat. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually show you the functionality of chat through a group chat. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. And I'm going to go ahead and put Kelly in here. And I'm going to do Aaron. Okay. And now I can actually name this chat up at the top. And how I do that is I drop down the menu, and I'm going to go ahead and do PSM demo. And when I come down here, you're going to be able to see that everything on this perspective, it automatically changes, which if I wanted to go find it later, it's going to be more searchable by the filter button. I'm going to just go ahead and write, hello, this is a demo. Okay. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is pin that to the top. Okay. Now we're starting on this project together, and it's going to be continuing on. So down below, you can actually edit your chat just like you would a Word document. So I'm just going to go ahead and do test here. I can do and tape it bold, italic, etc. And then I can even format it in a paragraph or insert links. And so Erin loves to do demos with me. She gets pretty excited. I can mark this as standard, important, or urgent. So you're going to be able to see that. If I were to send it, it would show up in the activity feed here as well as my chat. I can also do urgent. And urgent will actually ping that person every 2 minutes for 20 minutes until they answer. And you're probably thinking, oh gosh, I can totally annoy my coworker with this. But in reality, it has a purpose. Let's say you're on a manufacturing plant floor and your workers have Teams on their phone, and there is an incident where you have to get one part of the manufacturing floor to the other, or get somebody there to help. You could actually ping that person to create a more sense of an urgency, and it will show up in their Microsoft Teams. A lot of healthcare providers are using it as well, from a fashion of, let's say you're on the 5th floor of a hospital, you have to get to the 3rd floor of a hospital. Yes, there's an intercom, but most of the time people are on their phones and they're going to be able to see that there. So the possibilities are really endless with what that was meant for. Okay. Microsoft Teams on that note as well. If you're in manufacturing, it's kind of cool, or even have field workers in construction. There's Walkie Talkie feature available through the platform, so you don't have to have different devices on you. You can actually just use one and use it through Microsoft Teams. So that's some fun things that you can do with it. The next one, you can actually work on collaboration by working on a document together. So I'm going to go ahead and just upload this quick. And I'm not sure how many of you collaborate via email, but this is a way for you to, be more effective and efficient. Have everybody look at the document at the same time. I know when I work on a document back in the old days, you never knew who changed what, and then you'd have to go and correct the errors. But by being able to collaborate within Microsoft Teams, you're going to have less error, save more time, and be more effective and efficient. So we're just going to go ahead and go into this test demo. Over here, we can have a chat about the project, which is great. So you can go back and forth and say, hey, I'm working on XYZ section. If Erin or Kelly were to jump into this conversation, you would actually be able to see them up here. And then when they're in there, it would actually highlight the part that they're working on. When you come back to it, it will show you as well who the last person was to edit it. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and just type test. I'm going to go ahead and do a different design on it. It's nice because Microsoft's AI capability is still included, and so you're able to still do a great presentation from that perspective. Okay, so here we're working on it together. When I close it, it's automatically saved. If you don't like to be in this environment and you still want to have it on your desktop, you can still do that as well. So I can go ahead and open up this PowerPoint on my desktop, and I'm able to edit it in here as well. You can see how it transposed directly into here. Erin popped into here to help edit. I can see that she's here right now working on the document, and together we're able to collaborate real time together. Okay. The main thing is if you open it in your desktop, make sure you're not saving it locally. Okay. So up here in the left-hand corner, you want to make sure that that circle is there from a save perspective. If that's gone, that means you're saving locally to your desktop, and those things that you had worked on will be overwritten if you upload it. So then you'll actually be going back. So that's just a tip and trick. We are not in Kansas, Erin. Perfect. So then you can see when I come back into Microsoft Teams, it will automatically refresh for me. And everything is there from that area. Okay. Questions so far on the collaboration part? All right. So we can have a little fun in chat too. We can add emojis. We are able to add GIFs. I always just choose the first one, so forgive me if it's bad. And then the next one is memes as well. So if you wanted to do a meme, you could actually change it and have some camaraderie there as well with your teammates. Okay. Now I know that this project's going to be going on for a while. So I want to create a calendar request so that we can meet reoccurring. What I'm able to do is actually schedule a meeting directly from here. And the beautiful part of it is that they're already included. And so I don't have to put in their names or anything from that perspective. I can title it here. I know that both Kelly and Aaron are busy, and I know this because they're a different color. So I want to go ahead and check when we're able to schedule them. So I just click scheduling assist, and then I can go ahead and choose a new date and time that all works for us. I can also add additional attendees from that as well to create that calendar request. Okay. Now I'm going to come back to this and show you actually about channels after we learn about them and how that can be more effective for you too. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. Okay. The next one is Microsoft Stream. And Microsoft Stream is great. Again, think in your head, Microsoft Teams is secure and encrypted. Okay, that's super important. And when I pull up Microsoft Teams on my desktop, and I'm going to make sure I don't have my background on correct. I want you to be able to see my phone. Perfect. Okay. So Microsoft Teams is secure and encrypted. And anything you put in here stays within the system, which when you're working on your phone application, this is nice because you're not saving anything local to your device. It also means that your company information is secure, right? Which is great. And so you can see I have Microsoft Teams on my phone, looks just like my desktop. At the bottom corner, there is a camera. And in that camera, you're able to take photos, documents, whiteboard, business cards. And then when you take that picture, it doesn't save to your device. It actually saves in Microsoft Teams. So an example I like to use, and I actually, with a manufacturing company, was they use the video capability to show when a piece of equipment is down. And so I'm going to go ahead and show that to you real quick. So you can see right now, I'm in my Microsoft application in my office, and I'm able to upload this directly to the meeting or to a team or to a channel. That way the person can get the information quickly if we're not together. You're able to see that this video has uploaded very quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and just show this real quick. Okay. So that information is there from that perspective. So Microsoft Stream is great. You're able to put up video and all of that across the board. Okay. Perfect. The next thing, you can put praise into a meeting so you can have, again, more fun. You can add in project management tools. I have Trello attached to mine. You can add in the weather, YouTube, and all these surveys, for example. Even Microsoft Forms are there as well. It's even attached to tasks. So let's say you're in a meeting and you're assigning things out. When you assign out that task, you can create this here and it's going to give it to the person that it needs to go to. Okay. And because there's 440 different certified applications for Microsoft, and I think it's growing every day, you're able to use all of these apps. Some are free, some you need to pay for, but you're able to incorporate them. And there's also ones per industry and functionality within your business as well. Okay. All right, so this is the chat part. Up in the left-hand corner or right-hand corner, I can actually add additional people. So Kelly's not going to be part of the call anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and remove her. And you can see now that just Aaron and I are here. I can actually add additional people. And when I add additional people, I have the ability to include the whole chat history, part of the chat history, or none of that. If you're really working on a project and we weren't having all this fun, you could include it all because it's actually going to help decrease the time that you're working with that person to accomplish your goal. Okay. You can share your screen here. I'm going to go ahead and push cancel. You can share your screen, join a phone call directly from this chat, and also do a video call. Okay. Now, previously, we had worked on 2 documents. These documents are automatically stored here. So if this chat gets to be long or you are using it for a short-term project, everything is located in one location. We can also do and add additional apps. We had uploaded that PowerPoint. This is our standing project that we're working on. We can actually pin that to the top, which is great because then we're able to work on it continuously versus going back into the application. And you can see here all of that functionality is included there. Okay. Questions so far? Come back here and we'll just check those questions. Okay, Mike, you're good?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. All right. So
Hey,
the
Abby,
next
I'm
thing we're
sorry.
going to, Yep.
One quick question. So when you're using those applications within Microsoft Teams, is it similar to using like the browser version of it, or is it like using the local version that's actually on the computer?
So from the application standpoint, when you add these, it's going to follow you no matter where you go. So you're able to include applications in the browser or in Microsoft Teams, and you're just including them in there. So you're inserting it, and then it'll follow you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it is running locally on the computer as opposed to running in the cloud as it would be with the browser version.
I think it would probably still be part of the cloud, right? Because it's including it, you're bringing it in, you're connected to the internet, and that's how the connectivity between applications and things connect together.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yep. And then this is also in a chat, it's important to know that the files you put in here go into your OneDrive. It's personal, right? But the files that you put into Teams and channels actually goes to a SharePoint backend. Okay. So that's the difference on where those file locations go, but it's all in the cloud because you're on the Microsoft Office 365 platform in some way or another. So you're able to access your information anywhere. Okay. All right. So now Teams. And this is where it gets to be a little fun. I have a couple different demo environments set up, but you can see here that I have a bunch of different teams set up from this perspective. The team is this. So this is the name of the team, okay? Anyone that you invite to the team will have access to the channel called General. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop this down. So this General channel here is part of the team, okay? You can see I've added in additional channels. This general channel is great. So let's say you have an all company-wide team. And in this team, this is where you put your company announcements, maybe win wares for your company, or you talk about new products and services. You're able to build this out in this fashion. And then you have these other channels that can actually break into subsets of your business. So if you were a sales organization, you might break it down by region. So like North, Central, East, West, et cetera, from that perspective. And I'm going to go ahead. And this was a networking group that I actually helped demo for a partner where everybody who was part of the networking group would actually join the first general channel, and then they were assigned a group. And so only specific people would go into those groups. And you can help lock that down by actually making it a private channel. And I'm going to show you how to do that quick. So here you're able to manage your team. You can add your channel. And here is privacy. So we can just make it private here. And I'm just going to go ahead and name this members. Okay. Go ahead and click it next. And I'm going to go ahead and skip adding names. But as soon as that happens, you can see that there's a lock here. Only people who are invited will have access to the members, and they will also be the only ones that are able to see that channel. So it kind of cleans it up for people on that end as well. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and go into my field resources. And this is me live, everything exposed to you. So my general channel is just me. This team is for me to be productive every day because I am generally on the road. I don't like to open my computer. I don't want to be on public Wi-Fi from that perspective. And if I'm on an airplane, I'd rather work off my phone. Okay. And so here you can see I have my information set up here. I have all my files here that I would ever need to be productive. I don't really need to go anywhere else. Ingram is actually set up in a OneDrive environment 100%, so I don't lose anything. So if you're afraid of the blue screen of death, a recommendation is to actually get into a OneDrive environment. And PSM would love to help you there. Here as well, you can see everything that I have. So I can click in, go into folders, etc. I don't use my wiki here. I'll show you how I use my wiki in a different manner in a moment. But here is my OneNote. And my OneNote is everything that I would ever need from a blog perspective, information I need to be successful. It's all included in one location. Okay. So here you can see I have all of my information from my OneNote on my desktop here. And all I had to do was click this plus sign and actually use the OneNote functionality from here and import it. And then you just choose what notebooks you want in that team and channel. Okay. And a really easy way to do this if you have information that you want to put into a OneNote so you always have it, is I'll actually take my email and put it into OneNote if it's important information. I can choose where I want it to go. It's going to upload directly into my OneNote, and then everybody will be able to see it and who is a part of that team. And then it will upload directly to Microsoft Teams through Sync. Okay. Other thing you can do as well is add in different websites. So if you do part ordering or work with different vendors, you can include that so you never have to leave this platform. I'm in here 95% of my workday, so I can log in from that perspective. I have my dynamic CRM included. There's connectors for Salesforce. It's great. You're able to include all of that in one location. And then my home page is my home intranet where all of my documents are stored through my SharePoint. I also have my very bare SharePoint calendar included as well. So this moves over. So if you're doing PTO scheduling, time off requests, sick leave, etc., this is a great place for that. And I'm sure there's more uses for Teams calendars as well. My search engine is here, which is great. Again, goes directly to my phone. So I can search through Teams when I'm on the road. And then there's all of these other applications that you're able to include. Okay, including Adobe. Adobe's great if you wanted to include that. Would actually start a flow so you can sign different things from different perspectives. Okay. There's more apps you can include, like Power BI. If data is super important, you can have it in one location, and just a ton you can do there. Questions so far? Okay. One really cool thing I want to show you. Let's say you get a customer email, and you know that email is going to be going back and forth a lot. You can actually move it to a team where you're able to collaborate on it to get an answer. And you do that by getting an email address, copy it from your channel, and from there, you can actually go ahead and just forward this email directly to the channel. It's going to go ahead and send. My Outlook's been kind of cranky today because we just went through an upgrade, so you gotta love that. So if it doesn't come through, I will show you an example. And you can see that this one came through yesterday. I'm able to collaborate with my team on this email directly in Teams. And then when I'm done, I can just open up this email direct from here so that I can respond back to my customer. Okay. Hopefully my Outlook it did freeze. That's okay. There's other things that you can do too, and I will show you in frozen mode, unfortunately. But up here, if you wanted to, you could IM that meeting. So here you can actually change this to an IM so that you are able to collaborate on that conversation direct in an IM with people that you want to have that conversation with. Okay. All right, so how easy is it to make a team? I want to just show you quick. Down here below, you can join or create a team. You can create a team from building it from scratch or by copying it. You have the ability to do private or public. There's also some functionality in the back end with Microsoft Teams where you can actually label your team as confidential. Super important, especially if you have compliance and regulation standards you need to follow. So I'm just going to go ahead and name this PSM. Going to move this over. And nice work, it's done. Here I can add people, but I'm not going to do that yet. And you can see how quickly this populated. And then we already showed you how to create that team. You would just do this here, okay? You can also get a link to the team. So if you have a bunch of people to add, all you have to do is from that perspective. And then just to show you the SharePoint backend on this Teams resources page, when you go to files, this is your SharePoint backend. And so if I were to open this here, you can see that this team site was named directly as I had named it within Microsoft Teams. And this was automatically created. So here you can actually create Power Apps and Flow and automate your processes through this functionality. Okay. All right, do we have any questions? All right, over here on the left-hand side, we've incorporated our Yammer community. Our Yammer community is really our social network within Ingram Micro, and it's connected to resources, training, development. Here's our calendar again. And before we had talked about the calendar, and again, think reoccurring meetings, here's where you would actually add a channel. And the importance of adding a channel in a meeting is that everybody who is in that channel is automatically invited to that meeting. So if you have a sales call or a company-wide call that you do on an ongoing basis, you could put that here and it's less work for you to enter in everybody's information. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put test. I don't have to add required attendees. I'm not going to repeat it. And when I send it, that information will go directly to my calendar here. And it's also going to show up on my calendar in Outlook because everything goes across the board. And then when we go back to the team site here on the posts, you can see that that meeting is showing up directly in that channel, which is great because your meeting notes, everything is in one location. And you can see that that link here, I didn't insert it. It's automatically there as well. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Next one is calls. So phone call is pretty cool. You can port over a number that you're currently using directly in the platform, so you can use it anytime, anywhere. I actually don't use my cell phone to make phone calls. I use Microsoft Teams when I'm on the road. This helps me so I know who I've talked to, what was my time with those customers, who do I need to call back. Here you can create and add a speed dial. You can add in your contacts here as well. And then also see your history. So if you do billable hours, let's say you're a law firm, here is where you can actually see how long you've talked to that person and actually put that into their account. Okay. You can also set up voicemail from this perspective. This is where your voicemails will show up. And then they'll actually go to your Outlook as well. And then you can see I have my phone number here. So I'm able to call in and call out from the same platform. Questions so far?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Is there an extra cost for being able to use voice in Teams if you just have the base version of Office 365 with Teams?
It's an add-on license that you would put into there. And a lot of times when you do that, you'll actually see a decrease in spend on your overall telephony platform, which is great too. So you can compare the licensing, and it's not that expensive. For the US dialing, you get 3,000 minutes pooled. So if you don't use all your minutes and somebody else does, they'll go into a company pool. And PSM can definitely talk about those different plans with you.
Okay, and is that voice over IP, or can you do like PRIs and stuff like that with that?
Can you repeat that one more time?
So are the calls voice over IP? Are they all like internet based, or can you tie it into like a, like a actual voice back end with like a PRI or SIP lines or something like that?
I'll let PSM answer that if you'd like.
Yeah, so this is Andy. Yeah, so that integration is definitely possible. There are a number of different ways you can integrate with PSTN, and yeah, you can take advantage of existing circuits. So yeah, we'd be happy to talk about that with you in more detail.
Okay, just curious. Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Are there other questions?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Going back to calendars, to what extent does the team calendar sync up with Outlook calendar?
100%. Right now, though, you can see whatever you put in your Outlook calendar will be in your calendar in Teams, and it will go back and forth. If you have additional calendars right now, you can't see that, but that functionality is in the roadmap.
Okay.
Like if you use Outlook to connect to another person's calendar, is that what you mean, Abby?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So I can only see my own calendar within Teams then. That makes sense.
And you can see this test is here, and I started that test actually here in my calendar. My calendar, don't get excited, it's very busy, but you can see everything is included there. Yes, I do color code because then I know exactly the importance of the meeting. That is super important and a lovely trick that I love to do. So I know what I have to go on to. So
that's great.
Yep. Yeah. Any other questions on the calling or things along those lines? The calling too is great. So let's say you have like a call center functionality or you want the phone to ring to multiple people at the same time, you can do that. It's going to act like a natural phone system for you. And there's a ton of capability that is out there and more that is in development. And there was a huge acquisition yesterday with Microsoft with some networking stuff. I'm just barely learning about it, but I think it's going to make the product even better. So I think Microsoft is definitely investing a lot into the telephony portion of it.
And Abby, this is Andy. I just want to interject. So we are running up against, I think we'd booked this for an hour, running up against time. So I just want to make sure if there are any just general questions anyone wants to ask, that everybody gets a chance to ask questions.
I have two things left to show if you don't have questions. This is the file section. This is everything you worked on, again, in a OneDrive environment. And so everything is showed in Microsoft Teams, so I never lose anything. Microsoft Teams, these are all of the avenues that I'm a part of, so channels, teams, etc. So I can actually go into these to look at them from a different perspective. My downloads are here, so anything I've downloaded will show up here as well. And even my own personal storage for OneDrive is here as well. And then you can pin additional apps here on the side. Look at the apps down here. And then down here is help, topics, trainings, and then you can suggest a feature. And that's how we got to the 9 view. So questions? We zoomed through that last couple sections. So all right. We have 2 more gift cards to give away, and we had some great questions. Who was the guy that asked the questions about the telephony?
That was me, Patrick Brennan.
Patrick, do you work for PSM?
No, I work for the Jacobson Group.
Awesome, Patrick. You get a gift card, and I want to give away one more. So the next person to ask a question or how you could actually see Teams being implemented in your environment would love to know. So the next person to come on camera, show me, you get that last one. And you can't work for PSM. I'm sorry. All right, nobody wants to go Amazon shopping.
Well,
I think we got you one already, didn't we, too? You can go ahead and ask another question, though.
You know, I do have one more question. So
Sure.
what would you say, like, are the pros to Teams over something like Zoom? Like a lot of companies now using Zoom. Does Teams offer, besides like the Office 365 functionality, I'm talking more along the lines of like the video conferencing, stuff like that. Do they have any, is there anything like that's just much better than Zoom?
Well, and everybody asks me this question every day. If you're looking for a complete functionality within Microsoft Teams through collaboration, Microsoft is by far none the best, right? Because you can do everything in one location, get time back within your company. Zoom is video conferencing. There's a lot of windows up there. Microsoft has strategically chosen only 9 pictures because the brain can't function on more than that to be able to have a productive meeting. And so that's important to know as well. Plus, the one thing I really love to highlight is Microsoft spends over $1 billion a year in their security platform. So you know that it's going to be secure, productive, very rarely hackable. And when they do their meetings, every single meeting code is different. Through their GUI, there's actually 44 different characters that will change every meeting. So only people who are intended to be in the call will be there. And so I really focus on security when it comes to the Microsoft platform.
you know, just following up with what Patrick had asked. So we're using Zoom, and Patrick and I work for the same company. We're using Zoom right now, and I know it'll sound kind of not very nice, but it seems that we have a little bit better quality with Zoom, at least based on this meeting. Do you know if Microsoft is planning to, I don't know, improve, broaden the throughput? I don't know what you know, look into this, basically improvement of quality.
You know, and the 9 window was released yesterday. And so if you think about it, like 80 million users are using the 9 window right now. And so this is probably just since it's a new release, but there's always improved functionality across the board from that perspective. And I'm sorry if your experience wasn't, you know, to the level that you had hoped it to be, but working for the company, working for a partner, always being on this platform, constant improvement is always happening.
Yeah, this is Andy. I'll just jump in there a little bit. I have to say, I mean, Zoom is definitely a viable platform. You know, I can't say anything negative about Zoom. They're a great product, you know, and they've worked really hard to get their platform where it is. I think what you're likely to see as you watch this is that, you know, Microsoft is just investing a huge amount of effort into this. And I think you're going to see any difference in quality, that gap is going to narrow pretty quickly. So I think, in terms of video conferencing, Zoom is kind of king of the hill right now, but I think that equation may change. And then especially then if you figure in the fact that you've got the integration with the rest of the Microsoft stack, that's where Teams provides a lot of value there.
This is Dave Stolaric. I think there's an element to note here too. What we're seeing is a presentation of Abby's screen, which is in turn a screen of video screens. So it's like double production of the same video. If you look down on the live video stream below the presentation window, I think you'll see a bit more true experience of how the video stream actually will look real time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an important point, Dave. Yeah, we're basically broadcasting the same content twice. That does make a huge difference. Yeah.
I will say it seems like Abby's internet may be a little slow because even on the live panel, she's kind of not pixelating, but it's choppy.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
And it could be just a unique situation. We've had, to be fair, we've had issues with Zoom as well. Sometimes when there's a lot of, I guess, traffic, etc. But overall, last question is there a trial kind of version, or like can we try it for, I don't know, a period of time to see how this works and compare to Zoom and things like that?
Andy, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, if you want to take that one, Abby, or I can, either one.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a trial version, and you can work with PSM to get that. We can help you there.
Yep. You can set up a trial tenant and put it through its paces. Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mike, to your point earlier, I think like I'm looking at your video and it's flawless, but I do see some degradation in Abby's window. So
Right,
maybe it's
right.
a function of the resident internet connection. I don't know how my connection is for you. I'm
Very
on
good.
wireless. Yeah. So
Yeah, like David, Andy, you're good and clear, high definition. Yeah. So okay. Anyway.
and then
I'll have to check on that with.
Yeah, to the earlier point about voice integration, that definitely warrants a further discussion. There's some elegant solutions from third parties if you're not ready to make a full switch to the native E5 platform for voice integration with Microsoft, but we can talk through sort of the full spectrum of options there, because there are some stepping stones if you've got more of a traditional voice environment to help you integrate.
Yeah, definitely. We've tried a couple of years ago, we've tried a voice over IP platform and it didn't really work very well for us. So we're very cautious and really want to make sure we have good quality before we move over.
100%. Yeah. So that, like I said, I think that, well, first of all, quantum leaps over the last 18 to 24 months in that space, and they continue to be. There's continued improvements there, but certainly pitfalls to note, and I look forward to having those discussions with you directly.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And I think when I quit sharing my screen, everybody cleared up as well. So I'll have to look at with my resident network